The light breaks. It's the sun, making its slow and measured approach above the horizon. Like many of us, emerging beyond the white curtain. We sing, like Langston Hughes once wrote in the singular, I too sing America. We play without the masks that Dunbar scripted so long ago. And we compose the music that must be, is being heard with ears that would not hear before. We are departing the kitchen of the darker brother. This is the tomorrow, and the table is set. Welcome to Classical Music in Color. I'm Julian Gibson. There's a lot to say about soprano Angel Blue, and right now the least of it is her penchant for singing breakthrough roles. Lately, she's made a name for herself for something else. You know what it is. We'll get to it. There's also news about Jonathan Hayward's new job, the Color of Music Festival's latest honor, and then there's Dreaming in Black. That's the voice of soprano Angel Joy Blue, singing Musetta's Waltz from Puccini's La Bohème.
I always thought that opera wasn't going to work for me if I didn't work for it. I think that's kind of what my parents, especially my dad, when I was taking voice lessons and everything, he was really strong on practicing. Angel, you have to practice. Make sure you're prepared. Make sure you're ready. Make sure you're ready. And I think for me, if I'm not going to get something, I've never felt like it's because of the color of my skin. I've always thought it was something else. Like a good example actually is a couple of years ago, I was going to do this new production of La Bohème overseas in Europe. And I met the director. He said, you know, I'd love to go out to lunch with you and chat with you about your ideas about the character. And I said, okay, great. And so I met with him and he said, oh no. And I thought, oh my gosh, what's going on? And he said, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I didn't know you were so tall. And I said, oh, I'm 180 centimeters. You know, I'm just shy of 6 feet. And he said, oh, honey, we cannot use you because the tenor is only 5'6". And I said, oh, I said, okay. But, you know, that didn't have anything to do with how I look or anything like that. I'm just too tall, you know? And he said, and we have some very intimate scenes and we need a very small Mimi. He said, I'm so sorry. I just never realized that you were so tall. So I guess my mind goes to there in terms of not being cast for something because of a look. Maybe I'm not what the director has in their minds, but I suppose I just have never equated that to because I'm a Black woman.
Another role she sang made history. Blue was the first Black woman ever to sing the fully staged role of Violetta in Verdi's La Traviata at the famed opera house in Milan, La Scala. It happened in 2015.
The phone rang. It was my manager, and he said, would you like to sing La Traviata at La Scala? And I said, oh my gosh, that's my dream role. I would love to sing La Traviata at La Scala. That's amazing. And I said, that's my dream role at my dream opera house. And so I'm thinking because of how they plan in opera, I'm thinking it's going to be in 2 or 3 years. And this was like March, I want to say this is March 1st or 2nd. And I said, well, that's great. I said, when is it? And he said, next week. I said, when? And he said, it's next week. And he said, it's March, I think it was March 12, 14, and 16 or something. And I said to him, oh my gosh. And so I looked at my husband, I had the phone on speaker and my husband is looking at me. He goes, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. You have to do it. You have to do it. So That's how I got there to sing that role. And I have to say, out of every opera company I've sung in, that was the one time that I had the most support from the audience and I really believe it was because it was historical. Like, I had Italians coming up to me on the street telling me, do you know this is the first time that we see a Black woman singing the role of Traviata, Violetta, on the stage of La Scala, I think in the country of Italy. And so that was very special for me. I still feel very thankful.
She also just won the 2022 Richard Tucker Award from the Richard Tucker Music Foundation.
The Richard Tucker Award is known by many as sort of like the Heisman Trophy of the opera world. It's very coveted, and every American wants to win that award, because it is an award that's given to an American who is really on the brink of a very international career. But it's incredibly a huge honor for me to receive this award, because Richard Tucker actually was one of my father's favorite tenors. And so for me, it's just sort of a full circle kind of a thing to be the 2022 Richard Tucker Award recipient.
That was a couple of months ago, but now she's blown up over the last few weeks because of the reason she canceled her scheduled appearance in La Traviata at Arena di Verona. Back in July, she announced she would refuse to perform in La Traviata due to the Arena di Verona's use of blackface in an earlier production of Aida. She was not in that production. It was, however, based on a 2002 staging of it by the late Italian director Franco Zeffirelli. That staging uses blackface. Blue wrote on her now closed Instagram page, "Dear friends, family, and opera lovers," she said, "let me be perfectly clear. The use of blackface under any circumstances, artistic or otherwise, is a deeply misguided practice based on archaic theatrical traditions which have no place in modern society." She goes on to say, "It's offensive, humiliating, and outright racist." I spoke to her weeks before the controversy over blackface. In fact, she was preparing to go to Verona when we talked. However, you will hear her passion and her beliefs about Black Americans in opera, about traditions in opera, and you might surmise that her cancellation was the only way for her. You've got to tell me about the experience at the Met. Fire shut up in my bones.
Yes.
You have got to tell me about that experience. You know what I'm saying.
You know, I still feel there's a part of me that's still stuck on 2019 opening the Metropolitan Opera for Porgy and Bess, and it had not been there for 30 years. And then to come back, then for everything to shut down, and then to come back with Fire Shut Up in My Bones, this very prominent work by a great composer, Terence Blanchard, a great librettist, and the entire company being of African descent, Americans of African descent, Black people in opera. I don't know how to talk about that.
On the Met stage.
On the Met stage. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was, I mean, if I say just one thing, it was a blessing. And I know I say that, and people can use that flippantly, but it really was a blessing. And I think it's an incredibly poignant story about Charles Blow. But what I love about the story is that it is a universal one. It is a universal story. It's something that can be told across the board for many different cultures and many different walks of life. And the fact that all of us had the opportunity to share that story with people, I think, was just so very important, so very special. And I don't know that I'll ever experience another opera like that.
Did you cry?
A lot. A lot. I cried. My mom flew out to see the opening night, and my brother's in the military, and he came out, he loved it. Everybody we were really just very happy to be a part of it. It was, it definitely felt, truly, it felt very special. And I have to say, in terms of the Metropolitan Opera, one of the things I really appreciate that they have done is they really have embraced I personally feel this way, and maybe other artists don't, but between me and you and whoever's listening, I feel that the Met has done a remarkable job in showcasing. I want to I want to stay away from saying people of color, because I want to say diversity, because I think that's more. I think it covers a broader spectrum, but I do believe they've done a very good job in showcasing diversity and showing different people and representation. It's incredibly important.
Well, they were kind of forced into it, sort of,
I
kind
don't
of.
think so. Because I think people forget about what they did in 2019. In 2019, they had a Black Voices Rise, and they had an entire exhibit before everybody woke up and realized that Black people were in opera. Sorry,
Right.
not to be rude, but just to be completely frank, you know. But they had this exhibit in 2019 that was wonderful, and I think it was lost on people that they actually did that and that they showcased that. My good friend, wonderful tenor Russell Thomas, and I had the privilege of singing La Boheme on stage together. The first time I've ever sung La Boheme with a Black tenor, period, ever. And he said I was his first Black meet me. I mean, it was wonderful, And so I do think that they are, maybe it's slow. I imagine that's that all of us, or at least I'll speak for myself, you want these things to be fixed like that quickly. Come on, let's get it done. Let's get it going. But I think step by step, it's improving greatly. And that's one thing I definitely want to share from my perspective anyway. I see it as being the right way forward, not the wrong way forward.
You never ever considered, you never said, there's a white girl on stage and I can't do that because I'm Black. That never entered your mind, did it? You never even...
It never crossed my mind. But I think it's because I think the reason why I didn't think that is really because of my parents. I wish that you could interview them. They're way more exciting than I am. My father is passed away, but what a great man. And my mom is still here, thank God. But I mean, they had the stories that they have, especially my dad, from being raised in the deep segregated South, in the deep part of Alabama and Mississippi. He was born in 1940. So, I mean, when he was in his 20s, it was like the highlight of the civil rights movement. And one thing my parents just always impressed upon me, they always told me, you can do this. I never thought, I can't do it because I'm Black. I'm also a dark Black woman. I'm a tall Black woman. I'm a plus size Black woman. But those things, I mean, of course, when I was younger, I wasn't plus size, but I just never thought in my head that was a hindrance. To be honest with you, Judalyn, I always thought it was great, because I'm like, great, here I am at this audition, over in Germany, and we're all here to sing Musetta. I know I'm going to stand out because nobody here looks like me.
Which explains Blue's reaction and those of many others to blackface in opera or anywhere. Basically, she's saying it has to stop. Not so, according to legendary opera star Grace Bumbry, whose 50-year career puts her 2 generations behind Angel Joy Blue. Bumbry says she was shocked by Blue's point of view about blackface in opera. Bumbry wrote, quoting here, "As an artist, you may decide which roles you would prefer, but to limit yourself to only a few roles, such as Aida, Salika in L'Africaine, and Bess, or maybe 1 or 2 others, you are limiting your possibilities." Bumbry goes on to say that it's great to be proud of your race, but to perform in opera, you first must know the history and the desire for credibility. Arena di Verona, the opera company in the middle of this controversy, says they have had no reason nor intent whatsoever to offend and disturb anyone's sensibility. They say they'd like to talk to Blue about it in the hopes of building a bridge between cultures and educate the Italian audience. Common convictions, they wrote, have often been reached only after years of dialogue and mutual understanding. Do you have something to say about the state of Black Americans in classical music or opera? The Baltimore Symphony gets a new conductor in another first. That's what's coming up on Classical Music in Color. The Baltimore Symphony said goodbye to its longtime music director, conductor Maren Alsop, this year. She was the first woman to lead a major American orchestra and remains one of the few female conductors in that realm. So, of course, they had to replace her with someone equally first. Jonathan Hayward has been chosen. He's a cellist from Charleston, South Carolina, who studied conducting at the Boston Conservatory of Music. He was assistant conductor of the school's opera department. His postgraduate work included studies at London's Royal Academy of Music. As it stands now, when he lifts his baton for the first time in the 2023 season of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, he will become the first and only Black American conductor leading a major U.S. symphony. He's 29 years old. The Black Pearl Chamber Orchestra. They've been around Philadelphia since conductor Jerry Lynn Johnson founded it in 2008. The Mellon Foundation has awarded them a $300,000 grant. Conductor Johnson says they'll use the funds for a new project called the Kaleidoscope Initiative. It will support emerging composers, especially those of color. It is the largest grant the Black Pearl Chamber Orchestra has ever received. The idea is to normalize diversity in classical music. The Color of Music Festival is getting a big boost from the South Arts inaugural cohort of Southern Cultural Treasures. This is a $6 million, four-year program to support BIPOC-led arts and cultural organizations throughout the Southeast. The Color of Music Festival, along with 16 other groups, gets up to $300,000 of general operating grants over 3 years. Do you have something to say about the state of Black Americans in classical music? The International Society for Black Musicians wants to hear it. They're calling for proposals for their second annual virtual convening on November 19th. This year's theme is Dreaming in Black. The Society describes it as Black dreams, Black vision, Black imagination, Black expansion. Some of the suggested proposal subjects are lectures, recitals, masterclasses, and storytelling. The deadline for proposals is October 1st. Who says orchestras can't play hip-hop and R&B? Atlanta's Orchestra Noir is closing out the summer with a repeat of its highly popular 90s Vibe concert. Conductor Jason Akeem Rogers invites you to dig into your closet for your 90s wear and come to the 90s Vibe concert. It's in Atlanta on August 27th. This is August, and I'm taking a vacation of some sort. But before I sit on the lounge chair by the pool reading an actual book, I'll be posting Composer's Cadenza. This time it features a conversation with the music of Carlos Simon. He'll be talking about the unusual way he was commissioned to compose the album Requiem for the Enslaved. Composer's Cadenza with Carlos Simon will be ready for your ears on August 19th. Oh, and don't look for another edition of Classical Music in Color until October. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, like your life depends on it, because it does. We are the Second Street Dreams audio network on the radio and on the Triple W. Thank you for listening to the August 2022 edition of Classical Music in Color. I'm Judelyn Gibson.